Welcome to the Pot.Live podcast. I'm your host, Lenny G. This podcast is all about connecting the community with the thought leaders of business and entertainment in the cannabis industry. As this industry expands and becomes more and more mainstream, we want to educate and entertain our listeners and become your choice and voice for all things cannabis. Thanks for joining us and enjoy the show. Have you visited MJ.com? MJ.com is the online destination where you can find everything you need to know about the emerging legal marijuana industry. Where else can you find the latest original content, news, and trends? Connect to a local doctor to obtain your medical marijuana card, receive exclusive brand savings, and have your favorite product delivered straight to your front door? MJ.com has it all. Go check them out. Welcome to another episode of the Pot.Live podcast. I'm your host, Lenny G, and today we have the pleasure of interviewing Serge Chistov. Serge is the financial partner of Honest Marijuana Company, which utilizes all natural cultivation methods to produce only the finest organic and eco-conscious cannabis products. Serge, welcome to the show.
Pleasure to be here, Len.
Excellent, excellent. So why don't you give everyone a little background first on you as an individual and how you got into the cannabis industry?
Fantastic. Cannabis was always a passion of mine as a recreational user. And I finished my career on Wall Street in 2005, was and still involved in the alcohol import into the United States. But by 2008, 2009, when California started to ease up their restrictions, I believe that this is time to engage in the industry, which to my belief will be an upcoming and very beneficial, very controversial. That was a part of the excitement. And with that thought, I came to Colorado as the New York cannabis snob, demanded only the best, and kind of been schooled by people half my age on what the best and the organic cannabis was in the first year. Fell in love with it and decided to invest into the operation with the primary goal, as you described in your opening statement, to produce simply the best, most dense cannabis fruit available on the market, using only the most healthier approaches to it, because obviously the key was personal consumption as well. So that is the long and the short of it.
All right. Now, what year was it when you first started?
We started in 2000. Actually, the Honest Marijuana started in 2012 with the doors opening and the first harvest in 2014.
Wow,
Regulations, state and local, was quite a challenge to overcome at that time. So it took us a little bit of time.
And are you still a private company or a public company?
Private company.
Private company. Excellent. Excellent. So you're, as the financial partner, does that mean, are you the founder of this company? Did you come aboard as it was, did you create it, or did you come aboard an existing operation?
Quite frankly, it was just a lot in the city that allowed us an opportunity to grow. Condition was to build up a facility, make it state and local authorities compliant. And obviously, the rest was for us to figure out how to set it up so we can produce the product we're after.
Wow. So, well, we have some similarities. Just to back up, I grew up in New York. I worked on Wall Street as well and left around the same time you did. So that's very interesting.
Absolutely.
That's great. All right. So you leave Wall Street, which is, obviously a reputable industry. And now you come and take a chance with something that still had a stigma attached, especially back in those early years when you started the marijuana company. How did you deal with even friends and family or business associates saying, wait a second, what the hell are you doing?
Quite frankly, I do not have many of friends that were really upset with me doing that. However, yes, you're absolutely correct about the stigma, and not just in 2012, it continues to be present today. And not just among the average folk, but still in the banking industry and still with a lot of other businesses that simply would walk away from you when you're trying to buy equipment or supply, and the final destination is the cannabis market. So yeah, stigma is continuing. It's not as strong as it was, you're correct. There was a positive tendencies, but overall stigma is pretty much alive.
And how have you had to deal with over the years? Obviously, it's slowly becoming more and more mainstream. Hopefully, we're getting to the finish line of legalization federally at some point in the next few years.
Mhm.
How have you had to jump through hoops or get over the obstacles of being able to market your company?
Quite frankly, in Colorado market, competition is all oriented around the quality of the indoor grown flower. A lot of people believe that they're connoisseurs. Some are, some not, but they still believe it. And we started by walking away from the conventional, let's put the green in the bag and deliver it to the dispensaries. We went after the best ways to preserve cannabis and delay that transition from us as a grower to the final consumer. And for that, we utilized nitrogen preservation technology, and all of our flower is sold fully cured, available for smoke. So when the grower says this is the ready batch, then we preserve it in the tuna-like small eighth cans, and we flush it with the liquid nitrogen in order to get rid of the oxygen, which is the number one deterrent for cannabis freshness. And this way, consumer, as they start to get to know us, get to expect and receive a consistent customer experience where they were opening that container, and at that moment, flower was as fresh as the grower would recommend, which was quite different from any other offering. We were the most expensive flower on the market for a while, and the combination of those two factors with a very limited advertisement outside of the industry. At that time, it wasn't allowed. We were not able to speak about it on national publication, cross-state publications, TV or radio. We were able to introduce a consumer to our way of thinking, where cannabis is perishable as much as tomatoes, cucumbers, or broccoli, and being able to preserve it to the customer consistent experience was the first step or statement that we brought into the market. A lot of people have followed, a lot of people stayed the old-fashioned way, but we were trying to differentiate ourselves with a deeper understanding of the customer. And I believe that was resonated with the consumer that is until today coming and asking for the product by name.
And now, just for the beginners out there, as a smoker, as a consumer, can you just describe the different experience between a top shelf product like yours that is preserved, like you said, and a product that may not be preserved the proper way? And when you smoke that, what's the difference in experience?
I'll give you a couple of answers to this question. The direct answer is this. I don't know if you ever smoked your bud in Miami during summer and in Colorado during the same period of time. It will be a two different experience from the same bud, simply because of the moisture in the air eventually become a moisture of your bud. So in Miami, you're always looking at the fluffy, beautiful bud that smokes like heavy. It smokes heavy, it smokes harsh. And the reason for it, there's unnecessary amount of moisture, which is also involved in the process. On the opposite flip coin, in Colorado, by the time you brought the cannabis home, they probably spent a couple of days or maybe a week in a dispensary with a continuously open and closed container. So the bud is so dry that by the time you try to crush it, it basically pulverizes. It becomes just dust. That creates for a little bit unusually harsher smoke of the same exact flower. Now, flower that is cured correctly is at that perfect moment in time, just like with wine, where it's not over-cured, not under-cured, it's just ready for you. So that is the benefit of the preservation technique. On the other hand, the organic cultivation requires a plant to draw out of the soil by the symbiosis with the soil, the certain environment that is created by applying right nutrients and applying teas, applying all the ingredients that will allow the plant to grab out of the soil whatever the plant needs at that stage of its life, as opposed to the hydroponic creations where envision that as a plant would be a patient in a hospital where you put an IV to his vein and you're just pumping him with all kinds of chemicals, does it need it or does not. And even though you're flushing the plant later on, the chemically taste on the tip of your tongue, and sometimes people feel it on the back of their lips, will clearly define that you are smoking something that might have an unnecessary materials in it. So in one way, you're looking for the plant to be the best plant it can be under the best natural cultivating conditions, with us mimicking the outside environment almost to the T and maintaining it as such. And on the other end, you're getting a quick and easy, simpler to cultivate commercial product, which will get you where you're looking to go if you are not that particular about the smoking or consuming experience. I hope I was able to answer it, Len.
Yes, perfectly. Thank you for the nice explanation. So now you mentioned some of the technology you use. I know you had received a U.S. patent for one of your technologies. Do you still utilize that now?
U.S. patent is more, that was a second step or third step of our product development. That is going into the more nanotechnology delivery mechanism of cannabinoids into the human body. By itself, cannabinoids are mostly consumed through smoking or eating, which in one case, not as healthy for you, smoking in general. If you're burning something 3 inches away from your soft tissue of your throat, probably not a beneficial approach. And we see that in the younger generation, which trying to walk away from it. They're going more to the vaping, dabbing, and edibles. But edibles, on the same token, had a delay in the reaction. So a lot of people, listen, we live in the United States of America, instant gratification is what we're all about. And I truly don't know how I would like to feel in 45, 60 minutes. So for me to commit to an experience that I cannot quantify on the consumption is something very different. And also was getting a lot of tourists or people with a little understanding of the dosage and their counter medication reaction, etc., into trouble because people taking cannabis, taking their edibles, and they're not feeling much. They're adding to the dose, and suddenly the ton of bricks falling on their shoulders, and they're calling the cops saying, "I'm too high, help me." So to avoid that, we were working with the top European scientists to help us develop a nano-encapsulating technology, which allows cannabis to easily travel through your skin, easily travel through the buccal or your tongue through the form of thin water-dissolvable strip, fast-acting dissolvable tablets. And right now, what we're launching this year will be the fast-acting gummies, which basically will get you to where you're looking to be within the first couple of minutes and will allow you, even as a new user, very easily understand how much of this medication you truly need. So that is conversation about the nanotechnology pertaining to the patent.
Great. That's great. So you just mentioned several products that you're launching or that you already have. Where can listeners find out more about Honest Marijuana?
HonestMarijuana.com will be the great source. There is a lot of information on our blog site. There are a lot of products that are being disclosed and shown, technology described. It is quite a popular web gathering place. I think we're generating close to $750,000 new unique visitors every month.
Wow.
And consumer reads and asks questions, and we're very happy to share everything that we know as a users, as a growers, with the public.
And did that website traffic just gain from, I mean, you can't advertise traditionally, right? Is that just knowing your brand over the years and mostly Colorado visitors, or do you have a national audience there?
I think I do have a national audience and international audience as well. A lot of organic growth by us being able to be first writing about a lot of innovations that consumer realizes a couple of years down the line or a year down the line, they're coming to look for it. And, search engines were nice to us. SEO was definitely part of our story. And, just putting one foot in front of the other for a long period of time eventually finds consumers that are like-minded and have the same idea in their mind. If it is legal, I want to know what is better, what is not, just like you asked. I would like to know how to differentiate between the two. And even if I cannot buy your flower, at least I'm knowledgeable enough to walk into the dispensary across the country, open states, and have a conversation sufficient enough to motivate a bartender to steer us the right direction.
Yes, absolutely. Education is a big part of making this, more mainstream than it is.
It's the key. And I'm very grateful, Len, that you're spending time and putting your effort in doing that, because people like you are actually extremely beneficial to the industry and very beneficial to us, because as people asking more questions and become more educated, we do become more visible.
Yes, thank you. And having experts like yourself on there with a lot of experience is so helpful. So thank you very much. So does Honest Marijuana just have THC products, or have you gotten into the CBD market as well?
Honest marijuana itself, by the legal definition, is the cannabis manufacturer. So in order for the state to grant us a license, they want to generate very particular stream of revenues in taxation. So CBD or hemp products are not allowed to be commingled on the same facility with the cannabis. So we do have a sister company, which is called Hemp Theory, hemptheory.com, which utilizes the same nanotechnology for some of the delivery mechanism for hemp. So through that technology, the pain relief cream was available to the customers and getting tremendous reviews on Amazon until they're starting to change their rules and now going to be sold directly on hemptheory.com. We have a honey infused with a nano hemp, which allows you to enjoy your late night cup of tea by adding fast-acting cannabinoids to your system, which might help with inflammation or general sleep disorder. We have some naturally produced gummies that are using no gelatin, but rather the fruit juices and fruit purees. And right now we're working on the transdermal patches. We have a company that wants to utilize our technology in their production, and they will be willing to make this product for us.
And have you seen, we're recording this in mid 2020, so obviously it's been one heck of a crazy year. Have you seen any trends over the first half of the year as are people going more towards THC products or more towards CBD products, or has it stayed like it was in 2019?
I believe that it's pretty consistent with the last year. I don't think the industry on the CBD side experienced much of a growth. I think it's just oversaturated with the secondary quality products, people that are running after this three letters CBD. I mean, Len, CBD is still federally illegal, and not because it's a part of the plant. No, has nothing to do with this. CBD, as you know, last 2 years became an active ingredient in the FDA-approved drug by the GW Pharmaceuticals. So give your listeners an example. To make something and call it a CBD product will make as much sense or as much legal violation as take an active ingredient from the Viagra, the FDA-approved product, add it to your water or add it to your honey, and now you're selling a Viagra honey. I don't know if that makes any sense, but federally, if there is an active ingredient that is involved in the production of the FDA-approved drug, this active ingredient, CBD and single molecule CBD, becomes prohibited to be used in food and cosmetics. Yet, we still see thousands and thousands of stores that are offering CBD and other products, and consumers also need to understand that they need to put their research, and if the manufacturer is willing to violate a federal law by mislabeling the product, my question as a consumer always, what else did they violate or did not follow? What quality of the product for me to expect, and so on and so forth. And confirmation to that is the fact that if you go to the Amazon, one of the largest marketplaces in the world, and punch CBD gummies, you will not find one. You will only see hemp extract gummies, but you will never see that three letters CBD on the package that is sold in a worldwide distribution chain of Amazon, simply because it is illegal. And customers in their locales across the country being confused and sometimes grossly misrepresented by the sellers. And I believe they need to pay very careful attention to that.
Yes, I agree with what you just said. And it's strange because as the CBD market has exploded with so many, everyone starting a CBD line or white labeling, there's so many products that are just, BS, for lack of a better term, that, all of a sudden you go to fill up your car with gas and there's CBD in the little mini mart in a gas station. That's not top quality, but
exactly.
And it just gives the industry a bit. I actually think the CBD explosion has held back the marijuana acceptance around the country a little bit because a lot of it, the CBD is just a bunch of bullshit,
I believe that this is definitely turns the consumer away from the industry as a whole, and creating that uncomfortable or unexpected experience is not something that we would like for our customers. So we continue to do what is that within the legal framework. We work with the national retailers. And yes, consumer is confused. Consumers should do their homework and understand that due to such a widely known fact as the entourage effect, single cannabinoid simply does not work. If you're looking to just enjoy a pure THC, a single cannabinoid, you will not get the same experience as you expect by smoking a flower, because flower has number of cannabinoids which kind of being beneficial one to another. They complement and supplement one another. And if you take that entourage effect from the product, you never receive the full effect. So hemp, which is a legal product, federally legal product now, has a very small amount of THC, which is very important because it helps CBD to work. And then it has minor cannabinoids there as well, which truly represent the species. And the beneficial effects of that species is applying a combination of cannabinoids rather than looking for that one that consumer knows, which is CBD. There are 120 known cannabinoids in the world, but somehow today consumer is very concentrated on that particular one. And again, it's a lack of education and a lack of interest in the shady industry to educate a consumer, but rather give them what is that they want.
Yep. And I have two general questions for you. Let's start with, you mentioned legality a couple of times. Before 2020 happened, I was hopeful that this presidential election year, that marijuana legalization would be a hot button topic in the debates or in the campaigns. But obviously that seems like it's being pushed aside with some bigger issues this year, which are unfortunate. But what do you see from the political landscape going forward? Do you think that federal legalization is a possibility in the short term, or do you think that we're getting pushed out due to what's happening in the world right now?
I mean, obviously you're asking me to speculate, so let me.
Yeah, of course. Yep.
So if Trump loses, the only hope for the federal legalization for him would be for him to be pissed off and federally legalize it before leaving the White House. As of today, Trump's policy is to leave all of that to the states and let them decide what do they want to do. And I believe in his view, federal legalization will come as simply as a completion of majority of the states jumping on board. At that time, they will be able to figure out interstate commerce and basically figure out who, when, and how will be distributing their products. Second option, now that's the only option because the opponent, Vice President Biden, being a part of the Obama administration for 8 years, only went as far as the Cole's memo, which will basically state to the state authorities that federal authorities will not be prosecuting state legal or state approved businesses that are involved in a federally disallowed cannabinoids. So I don't expect him to change his mind over 4 years, and I really don't have much confidence in him walking in and like Bernie promising to legalize cannabis on his first day in the office. So to me, I do believe that the shortest way we can win will be for Trump to lose and sign it. Again, this is pure speculation. And the longest way for us to win will be either of the presidents facing additional 10 or 20 states opening it up, which will be a vast majority of the US states. And at that time, basically thinking about how we can do this cross-border transactions.
Yep, those are all good points. And that segues into the next part of my question. So basically medical versus recreational. I believe, just from things I've read, and I have no inside knowledge, I'm speculating as well, that medical federal legalization would be much more welcome than recreational. So I'd like to get two thoughts, if you agree with that. And number two, what do you see the benefits as far as medical use of the flower versus recreational use? Do you concentrate your consumer base? You're in a recreationally legal state, Colorado. Do you not care what your consumer base is because whoever buys, or do you target medical and recreational differently in your state?
Let's first take a look at the differences. Some dispensaries in the state of Colorado is divided by a line on the floor. Left is recreational, right is medical, or vice versa. What it really means in a true sense of the term is if you are a member of the Costco Club, if you went and get your state medical license, you are able to do two things. You're able to pay less taxes to the state because you're a medically prescribed user. So your cannabis in the store becomes cheaper for you. And two, you are able to have an access because state officially believes that you're experienced user. You have an access to the higher dosages, specifically in the edibles and other concentrates. So you, as a recreational user or a visitor of the state of Colorado, cannot buy more than 100 milligrams of active THC per packet of serving. So if it is a bar of chocolate, it can only contain 100 milligrams. On the medical side, the same manufacturer of chocolate will be able to put 500 milligrams in the same bar. So you can understand the impact. If a newbie were to consume half a bar of 250 milligrams, almost guaranteed unpleasant experience. And at the same token, price-wise, somebody who requires a higher dosage of the THC for his pain or arthritis or other prescribed conditions doesn't have to buy 5 bars to achieve the same medicinal effect and doesn't have to pay to the state as much in taxes, making his product unaffordable, right? So
Yes.
My concentration is recreational due to the fact that this is how our original licensing. We're considering to do some of the medical work with some of our products, but overall, to me, the goal is not really who were to consume it. I expect a point of sale person or a dispensary to vet the user before selling him any product, which is their responsibility. They're checking your age. They're asking you questions about your consumption experience. What are you looking for? What experience you're looking to obtain? And my goal, as always, was to deliver to the marketplace products that consumer, after the purchasing it at the point of sale, will appreciate as a craftsmanship, as the quality, and as the consistency of the experience. So I would like to answer this way.
Yes, thank you. So does Honest Marijuana sell direct to consumers, or do you place your product in dispensaries as a brand that they sell?
As of right now, the legal status of our company is to go through the legal distribution network of the state of Colorado, which will be licensed dispensaries. There are close to 700 of them. I believe after this year, it will be slightly less. But at the end of the day, before consumer reaches us, he needs to go through the retailer, just like in the liquor business, though liquor or wine, at least right now, can be sold directly to the consumer. So it may be not a good example. But before online representation of liquor, you went to liquor store for alcohol, you went to the state store for wine and beer, and you went to the CVS for your prescriptions. Kind of the same model.
Got it. Okay, so with the COVID-19 virus being so prevalent this year, what are your thoughts on people's concerns that they don't want to actually smoke anything due to the long risks with this virus? Do you think that cannabis smoking is not a danger at this point, or what are your thoughts on that versus taking a topical or edible during this crazy time that we're living in?
I believe that consumption through the topical or edible is safer consumption in general. But as I described to you, majority of the products sold in the edible category on the market today have a handicap of the delayed response. And that is just not suitable for some consumers, acceptable by others. But again, COVID-19 created an environment this year where people were locked at home and the federal money was deposited directly into their account. And when you're going outside, the only thing that is opened were liquor and cannabis shops. So you kind of put 2 and 2 together and you can see that our sales, basically everything that we grow right now is already pre-sold.
Got it. It's definitely been an amazing year, and I'm sure you're having some interesting experiences as a producer.
Main experience, Len, is we were as an industry validated to be an essential product for such a tough times.
Yes,
and
which is amazing.
Exactly. That was a big shot in the arm for the industry and for us specifically.
Yep. Okay, Serge, before we finish up, give us something that concerns you about the industry or even your business and something that excites you.
What excites me is the never-ending opportunities of creating of new products. This, especially with the new technology in hand, that gives us a completely brand new look at the industry, consumer behavior, and the product safety. What worries me still is the lack of the banking acceptance, lack of the access to the banking money, and overall duality of the state and federal regulators on the matter. So those are the 2 concerns.
Got it. Thank you so much, Serge Chistov of Honest Marijuana Company. Thank you so much for dropping all of that experience, knowledge, and wisdom upon our listeners today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Len.
And we will see everyone next time on the Pot Live podcast. If you are into the recreational side of the cannabis industry, yes, stoners, I'm talking to you, then thepot.com is the online and mobile destination for you. That's right, THEPOT.com, thepot.com. Where else can you find the exclusive Pot Mate of the Month? Take a pot quiz and win prizes. Scroll through hilarious memes and jokes and check out the latest podcasts, news, and trends, all while having your own profile and voice in the pot.com forum. Visit thepot.com today and get lit.